integral development, focused on improving critical skills and readiness for Industry 4.0 of youth in the Americas. I extend a special welcome to member state representatives who are joining us virtually, as well as our specially invited guests. The Honorable Tito, José, Crissien Borrero, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation of Colombia. Ms. Andrea Escobedo, Director of Government Relations and Regulatory Affairs, IBM-Mexico, and National Vice President of Inclusion and Diversity of the National Chamber of Technology Industries of Mexico. Mr. Jorge Vanegas, Dean of the College of Architecture, Director of the Institute of Sustainable Communities, Texas A&M University, and President of the Pan American Academy of Engineering. Thank you for accepting our invitation to participate in today's deliberations. I'm advised by our Executive Secretary that we have the required quorum, and I'll ask her to list the delegations present in alphabetical order. The Secretariat will take note of other delegations as they join. Secretary Osborne, please read out the list of delegations present.
Thank you, Ambassador, and good afternoon, delegations. We have Argentina, Barbados, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, Jamaica, Mexico, Nicaragua, Paraguay, Peru, República Dominicana, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, and Uruguay.
Thank you, Secretary Osborne. The required quorum is established, and we can proceed with today's meeting. I now submit for the consideration of this Council the draft order of business, document CD/OD-116/21. If there are no objections, the draft order of business is approved. We will now begin the dialogue with our special guest on the substantive topic for this meeting, the second item on the CIDI work plan for this period, youth, improving critical skills and readiness for Industry 4.0 in the Americas. Colleagues, distinguished guests, we are all well aware that the COVID-19 pandemic, the ensuing acceleration of the digital economy, and the reshaping of global value chains have emphasized the need for us to address the skills gap and workforce readiness to reap the benefits of the innovation-driven economy. The pandemic has resulted in increased poverty and inequality, as well as diminished opportunities for social mobility. Women, minorities, and unskilled workers in the service sectors, such as tourism and entertainment, and those occupations with high informality rates have been particularly impacted. The crisis has also deepened the challenges associated with young people's productive participation in the labor market. At the same time, industries, entrepreneurs, and workers connected to the innovation and digital economy, from software, e-commerce, engineering, telecommunications, biotech, research and development, among other sectors, have experienced growth and have expanded opportunities for the employment, as well as solutions for a post-COVID recovery. It is therefore evident that in the post-pandemic recovery phase, the participation of young people in the formal labor market will depend in part on their acquisition of the critical skills and capabilities to pursue job and entrepreneurship opportunities in transformative science and technology industries. Industry 4.0 technologies, such as new materials, artificial intelligence, big data, quantum computing, gene editing, robotics, and blockchain, Closing the skills gap will allow OS member states to reap the benefits from emerging technologies, improve productivity, contribute to higher growth rates, and reduce poverty. Within the context of the Inter-American Committee on Science and Technology, OS member states have identified the importance of providing youth with the necessary skills on transformative science and technologies as one of the priorities for regional cooperation. Today's dialogue will focus on providing information on main trends, challenges, and opportunities on transformative sciences and technologies for OS member states with a particular focus on the youth, identifying priorities and areas of regional cooperation and partnerships to promote youth skills for Industry 4.0 and advancing a proposal to develop the America's Youth Academy on Transformative Technologies, leading to the 6th REMSIT, meeting of the ministers and high authorities of science and technology. I remind the Council that as agreed in the methodology of the CIDI meetings, we will engage in a dialogue with our invited experts with specific questions from member states. Following the question and answer period, member states will be invited to share their country's experiences, offers of cooperation, ideas for implementation, and other specific contributions on the subject matter. To begin the discussion, I'm pleased to offer the floor to the Honorable Tito José Cristian Borrero, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation of Colombia. Good afternoon, Minister. Please proceed with your remarks.
Señor Ministro, si puede solicitar la palabra, por favor. Señor Ministro, veo que está en la sala. Si puede solicitar la palabra, botón azul abajo a la derecha. Muy bien, ahora sí puede activar cámara y micrófono.
Should we go to the other guests? So the minister is having a problem coming on at this time.
The minister is connected here now in the screen, but he has to activate the camera and the microphone.
Oh, there we are.
Okay.
Welcome, Minister.
Está en mute, no lo podemos escuchar.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Thank you.
Please go ahead, Minister.
In English or in Spanish?
Your preference, Minister.
Okay, thank you very much. Bueno, muy buenas tardes. Estamos aquí para hablar pues del programa de cómo Colombia como país está trabajando en el tema de la juventud y para mejorar las habilidades críticas y la preparación para la industria 4.0 en nuestro país. Y en
Perdón, ministro, pero no vemos la presentación, vemos la pantalla negra. Si pueden compartir de nuevo la pantalla.
Ok, gracias. Ya nos ponemos. Gracias por avisar.
Bueno, ahora hemos perdido conexión con ellos. I don't see the minister is connected now. Okay, he's back.
Okay.
Ok, lo vemos y lo escuchamos ahora.
¿Ya se ve la presentación?
Aún no, no han compartido todavía.
Ok.
Ok.
¿Ya se ve? Sí.
La vemos, pero no está en modo presentación. Ahora sí, perfecto, adelante.
Bueno, disculpas por todos estos problemas tecnológicos. Primero que todo, un saludo a la embajadora Audrey Marks, embajadora representante permanente de Jamaica ante la OEA y presidencia del Consejo Interamericano de Desarrollo Integral, a la secretaria ejecutiva para el Desarrollo Integral de la OEA, Kim Osborne, embajadores, representantes de los Estados miembros de la OEA, y un agradecimiento especial por el apoyo de la misión de Colombia ante la OEA al embajador Alejandro Ordóñez Maldonado y todo su equipo. Bueno, en el día de hoy pues vamos a hablar de cómo Colombia está trabajando para mejorar las habilidades críticas de nuestros jóvenes para prepararlos para la industria 4.0. A manera de contexto, a nivel país, el Ministerio de Ciencias tiene un programa enfocado hacia los jóvenes que tiene 3 capítulos. Esto no es específicamente hacia la industria 4.0, pero es cómo nosotros comenzamos a desarrollar las vocaciones científicas y comenzamos a sensibilizar a nuestros niños, adolescentes y jóvenes en temas de investigación. Comenzamos con un programa que se denomina Ondas, donde trabajamos con niños de primaria y de secundaria para desarrollar todas sus vocaciones científicas. Lo hacemos con los clubes de ciencia y pues también participando de un programa que se llama el NASA Club, donde los estimulamos para participar y visitar la NASA, con todo esto con el objetivo de sensibilizarlos hacia la generación de nuevo conocimiento y que los niños comiencen a desarrollar sus vocaciones científicas. Ya cuando están en edad, en educación media, que serán los últimos grados del bachillerato, y en la universidad tenemos el programa de jóvenes investigadores, donde trabajamos con semilleros de investigación, con el Nexo Global para que puedan hacer intercambios con otros países, y el programa Jóvenes Investigadores e Innovadores, donde se contrata a estos jóvenes para desarrollar pues sus proyectos de investigación. Y ya a nivel ya de graduados tenemos la formación de alto nivel, donde el ministerio apoya maestría, doctorado y postdoctorado. El programa Ondas pues tiene 3 niveles: los semilleros de investigación, la movilidad de investigación y las becas de pasantías en grupos de investigación. Adicionalmente, dentro de nuestros programas hacia los jóvenes, tenemos un programa que busca cerrar la brecha con las mujeres. Solo el 34% de los investigadores en Colombia son mujeres, por lo tanto queremos cerrar esa brecha y llegar a un punto más nivelado. Por eso desarrollamos el programa Más Mujer, Más Ciencia, Más Equidad, que tiene un énfasis especial en el tema de STEM, de ciencia, tecnología, ingenierías, artes y matemáticas, y también el tema de las TIC. Por lo tanto, estamos pues muy pendientes de formar a los jóvenes y prepararlos, sobre todo estas jóvenes mujeres, donde hay más de 15,000 beneficiarias, en prepararlos en temas que tienen que ver con las ingenierías. Adicionalmente, tenemos el programa Jóvenes Creando para Colombia, donde buscamos fortalecer las habilidades y capacidades creativas e innovadoras de los jóvenes que le permitan la solución de problemas territoriales en alianza con empresas, gobiernos locales y la academia. Aquí pues estamos trabajando con los jóvenes que pues no han tenido oportunidad de estar en educación superior y es una manera de darles un programa específico para ellos. Adicionalmente, la misión de Sabios tiene un foco que se denomina Tecnologías Convergentes e Industria 4.0. La misión de Sabios definió 8 focos, que los pueden ver ahí, pero uno de esos focos es específicamente hacia las tecnologías convergentes e Industria 4.0. Aquí tenemos pues las iniciativas que tenemos dentro de este programa para la Industria 4.0, donde buscamos maximizar los beneficios de la cuarta revolución industrial para el desarrollo inclusivo y sostenible de América Latina. Lo primero es que Colombia tiene la primera sede en las Américas para la revolución 4.0, que es la ciudad de Medellín, que también se conformó como un distrito especial, que es pues una característica que tiene nuestra reglamentación, donde la ciudad de Medellín y todo el Valle de Aburrá se estableció como un distrito de ciencia, tecnología e innovación. Y ellos han venido desarrollando los centros para el Valle del Software. Queremos que pues establecer todo este tema del desarrollo del software y de la industria 4.0 en la región de Antioquia y Medellín, donde se está trabajando en formando talento especializado para este Valle del Software, que sería pues el Valle de Aburrá, donde queda la ciudad de Medellín como epicentro. También pues se están trabajando en temas de la ciudadela de la cuarta revolución y transformación del aprendizaje. Y bueno, Colombia se propuso la tarea de formar 100.000 programadores. La industria del software en Colombia ha tenido pues una gran escasez de programadores, por lo tanto se estableció un programa desde el gobierno nacional para formar 100.000 programadores. Es un curso que dura 6 meses, 3 meses donde se les da la parte pues de clases y 3 meses de práctica, y ya hemos logrado formar 52.000 y tenemos una meta en lo que queda de este año y del gobierno, pues de llegar a 100.000 programadores. También para los jóvenes tenemos los centros Sacúdete. Sacúdete es una sigla que quiere decir salud, cultura, deporte y tecnología, donde también tenemos 235 centros en todo el país, donde se trabajan temas de tecnología para sensibilizar a todos los jóvenes. Y con esto pues damos por terminado las políticas y la intervención pues que está haciendo Colombia hacia los jóvenes, siendo pues la punta de lanza el tema de formar los 100.000 programadores expertos en software por la gran necesidad que se requiere no solo en Colombia, sino alrededor del mundo en este tema de programadores de software, que yo pienso que es una de las grandes apuestas que debemos hacer, porque cada vez se van a necesitar más programadores y digamos dentro de la industria 4.0 existe esa gran necesidad de tener jóvenes capacitados en el tema del desarrollo del software, porque es una necesidad latente y estoy seguro que al igual que en Colombia, a nivel de todo el continente, hay una escasez de programadores que estamos buscando constantemente. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Minister Crissien, for your very insightful and concise presentation. We will come back to you for questions in our question and answer section. We will now invite Ms. Andrea Escobedo, Director of Government Relations and Regulatory Affairs, IBM-Mexico, and National Vice President of Inclusion and Diversity, to give our remarks.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Ambassador, regional and country authorities and officials. It's really an honor to join this conversation today. Please let me know if you hear me well. I'm going to... Okay, perfect.
I hear you well.
IBM is part of the innovation ecosystem around the world, and we are committed to contribute to the development and prosperity of the societies in which we operate. Thanks to this commitment, we join forces with academia, civil society, and governments to develop and reconvert skills. The growing role of digital technologies in all industries and the ongoing pandemic has created employment uncertainty for aspiring and current professionals, particularly among underserved populations. As technology leaders, we recognize the impact the speed of technological change affects social and economic dynamics. The way we used to talk about digital transformation and the future of work will never be the same. The future of work is now. Since before the pandemic in the tech sector, we've identified a worldwide skills gap. This offer and demand mismatch is associated with the speed of technological change and new ways of working, and represents a challenge for traditional education models, organizations, and individuals. Tech companies and other industry companies are scrambling to hire qualified tech-savvy employees, particularly from diverse cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds. I have some data here from IBM and the OECD, but I want to start sharing my presentation on what we have created. I think you can see that now. So with this in mind, with the challenges in mind, at IBM we created Skills Build, an online continuing education platform hosted in IBM Cloud that offers free courses and certifications. Skills Build aims at supporting people to accelerate and improve their training and learning by developing professional and technical skills to adapt to changes in the labor market and be successful in the increasingly digital economy. The main objectives of Skills Build as a career readiness and learning tool are to empower people, support lifelong learning, as well as to contribute to close the skills gap by reskilling and upskilling, while including people from diverse education, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. We believe that new entry-level tech jobs require skills, not just degrees. New professional paths, tech-related positions that don't necessarily require 4-year degrees, is a fast-growing career category. We know that learners at all stages of the employment continuum need access to the skills that will allow them to compete in an ever-evolving economy. This is a landing page of Skills Build, as you can see this in English and in Spanish. In the Skills Build platform, students from ages 13 to 18, teachers, entrepreneurs, aspiring professionals, and adults already working or seeking entry-level employment can find more than 400 activities in different disciplines, ranging from one hand, business and financial fundamentals, innovative ways of working, so learners can improve their collaboration, presentation, time management, problem solving, and critical thinking skills. And of course, on the other hand, the technical skills around IBM core technologies such as cloud computing, cybersecurity, quantum computing, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and more. So far, globally, Cybersecurity Basics is a top certification earned on the platform, confirming marketplace data showing that those skills are in high demand by employers. The rest of the most popular courses and certifications on Skills Build are those general career skills, not super technical computer-related topics. The wide portfolio of free courses and digital credentials are available in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, among other languages. And the evolving content is produced by IBM experts as well as other pedagogical and industry partners. In addition, Skills Build platform operates with Watson technology, our artificial intelligence system, which allows the platform to personalize the education experience based on the needs and interests of each individual. Thus, learners can conduct self-assessment to identify the learning options that fit their skills. So here's some of the digital badges that we have and the courses. And of course, the program is divided in the needs of each individual, students, teachers, entrepreneurs. So I'm going to share later on these presentations so you can explore more of the main objectives and available courses and digital credentials. So far, we have great stories to tell about how students are developing these skills and finding new job opportunities. And for job seekers, it's also important this continuous education and lifelong learning objectives. We also have great experiences with job seekers, which are finding interesting opportunities. So these are the links so you can further explore. And I'm going to stop sharing. OS technology and changing platforms demands a lot from us and changing technologies. Just a second. So finally, we are certain that collaboration is key to address the urgent need to create new educational pathways, especially, as I mentioned several times before, underserved communities. Thus, some of the ongoing partnerships that we are developing around the world focus on providing a deeper engagement, mentoring opportunities, and more support on the ground, focused on job placement assistance, particularly for women and indigenous population, as well as measuring the increase on employability, creating data to inform public policy decisions. These are the main objectives that we engage with our partners worldwide. The challenges we face during and after the pandemic really demand more than ever that the private sector, the governments, the academia, and the social society, the civil society, work together. Together, we can complement ongoing efforts and trigger new initiatives to develop the talent of young people and support those who seek new professional opportunities. Only by joining forces, we can pave the way to recover towards a more sustainable, diverse, and fair societies. Skills Build, our platform, is an example of our social purpose and how at IBM we apply talent and technology in pursuit of solving some of the most complex social challenges on a global scale. Thank you, and now I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive presentation, Ms. Escobedo, and we will get back to you with some questions. I'm now pleased to offer the floor to Mr. Jorge Vanegas, Dean of the College of Architecture, Director of the Institute for Sustainable Communities, Texas A&M University, and President of the Pan American Academy of Engineering. Mr. Vanegas, you have the floor.
You hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay. I will be sharing my screen. Can you see the screen? No?
Not yet.
Window. There? Can you see it?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm counting my 10 minutes now. First of all, howdy from Texas to Madame Ambassador and all the distinguished participants in this event. I will be talking a little bit different because I want to expand beyond just the skill sets that are done in terms of the paradigms for future proofing our youth in the Americas. As president of the Pan American Academy of Engineering, we are committed to not only focus on the future generations, but also on the gender equity that is so necessary these days. So I would like to start by basically letting you know 5 things that are very important in terms of paradigms. What is the global context for the future of education? Because we live in a continuum of a universe of possibilities and a world of opportunities. And anybody that's in the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math knows that we really have a tremendous amount of new data and information, knowledge and experience, wisdom that require new skills, abilities, and mindsets from a macro scale all the way to a micro scale. The challenge is that our world is facing at the same time significant socioeconomic, geopolitical, biophysical, ecological, and technological shifts. And these are exacerbated by the effects and impacts of disasters and traumas caused by natural phenomena, by human action, and especially since last year, the COVID global pandemic. When you put that context, here is an issue. What is the point of departure in looking at the future of education for our youth and the need for more closely integrated and more effective educational environments? We have learning and teaching, and we have research, creative work, and scholarship, and we have engagement, practice, outreach, and service. And it's a two-way street between each one of them because we teach what is being practiced or what needs to be practiced. We research what is being practiced and what we need to practice. But then the symbiosis between teaching what is researched and researching what is taught and how closes the loop back. And this is a continuum that goes on the whole formal education pipeline. So when you're talking about skills, it is very important to frame it in the pre-K to gray continuum of the educational pipeline. So what we have here is that at each stage, we have degrees, high school, 2-year college, university, graduate degrees, doctoral degrees, and postdoctoral work. And the workforce is fueled by every single one of them. And in today's world, it is actually being challenged by minors, certificates, accreditations, professional and continuing education courses, seminars, workshops, MOOCs, and lifelong learning. So it is a very exciting time, but at the same time, a challenging time to navigate through all of this. Then we have point number 3, and that is the journey to the future of education for our youth. And the journey is really different for each one of our countries. The baselines, the responsibilities, the point of departures, and that vision, whether it's Industry 4.0 or any other vision, outcome, and destination, requires multiple pathways, some which are yet to be discovered, others that are very traditional and conventional, and some that are all over the place. What's very important is that to actually measure what we're doing in terms of preparing the youth for the future, we need to look at the delta, at the impact, at the transformation, and the accountability of being able to go from that baseline to that future. Therefore, the metrics, the indicators, and the benchmarks of performance, excellence, and success may be different. And we cannot forget that this particular scenario is the result of the trends that we have seen, and also the future is where the enhancements can be. So part of the challenge of really developing the youth is what is the roadmap that we are going to be providing them. And along the way, we need a compass to make sure that we have our eye on 4.0 or sustainability or health or whatever our vision is. We need dashboards that need to reflect the realities of what we're measuring in each one of our societies. And like anyone that has a GPS today, we may screw up or we may not succeed, and therefore there's a need to recalculate. And that flexibility, that adaptability, that agility is something that we need to be able to give our youth, but in doing that, we need to apply it ourselves. The next point is that what are the bumps on the road in the journey to the future of education of our youth? And I would argue that to address more effectively that future education, we need to break the chains that many times shackle it to 7 prevailing paradigms within the status quo in primary, secondary, and higher education institutions. And these paradigms are not challenged as often as they should. So when you're looking at these paradigms, they're all interrelated to each other, and there are shackles in a way. And why we teach, research, and engage, we need to question the rationale and justification for any programs in our portfolios. What we teach, research, and engage, curriculum and research and engagement agendas, how we teach, research, and engage, didactics, pedagogy, research methodologies, and engagement, with what the human, spatial, technological, and other related resources, who can teach, where can teach, and when we teach, research, and engage. Each one of these offers a lot of challenges, but at the same time, opportunities as we rebound from the realities that we have been facing up to now. And this is reflected not only in the institution where I am, Texas A&M University, but with all the ones that I work on. That includes the systems of K through 12, two-year colleges, and then universities and beyond. So the last point is what might, could, should, or must be that destination of the journey to the future of education for our youth. And my argument would be that our youth needs to be offered an opportunity to learn new skills, abilities, and mindsets that will enable them to find, access, and use all the data and information, knowledge and experience and wisdom that can fulfill the following: a vision of livability as we surround ourselves with the 17 goals of the United Nations for Sustainable Development. A vision for sustainability, which is taking people, the built environment, the natural environment, production systems, and the resource base from now to the future in all of these dimensions, which is not trivial when we recognize the diversity of social, cultural, political, and regulatory systems, environmental, ecological, economic, and financial. But when you add the fact that there exists at different scales of space and time, and at the same time, different levels of perspectives and complexity, that's the problem in trying to educate the youth. It's not putting them in a little box. But in addition, because of the visions of livability and sustainability are affected and impacted by the last thing, and that is a vision of resilience that will take disasters and traumas, and we see them right now as we speak, natural phenomena, human action, and the intersection of both. And we need to also prepare, mitigate, respond, recover, and innovate. And our youth are the ones that are going to be inheriting all the context for this to happen. So the way I look at the skill sets that are required, what could we focus on? So the vision of growth is getting beyond our zones of comfort, our zones of tolerance, and our zones of rejection. So from comfort, we go to tolerance and then rejection. Then we have the issue of caution and indifference and all of that. And that's where we need to be, on the zone of provocative thinking, where we actually create very fluid people. Because it is not about not knowing what new skills, abilities, or mindsets, best practices, lessons learned, and wisdom is the future. There are many additional, there are entities and organizations that are doing it. And this is just one example that came out this week. This is from the McKinsey report on the 21st century, that finding the skills that citizens will need for the future world of work. But they're classified as cognitive, interpersonal, self-leadership, digital, and there are 51 or more of these. So in closing, what I would suggest is that we need to focus on realizing the full potential of our educational infrastructure, but developing the capacity and the will to embrace the paradigms that I just presented today. Because in doing so, we can have a future that the world needs and wants. And that future, from my perspective, is a better world with the highest quality of life for people, place, and the idea of human endeavors. And with that, I would like to say thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vanegas, for that very interesting, integrated, and innovative presentation. I just want to clarify, we do have access to the presentation after.
Yes, mine are freely shared with everybody. I subscribe to the Creative Commons, so anything I do, the people from OEA, Cesar Parga, and Ariane knows that I share very openly with anyone.
Okay, thank you. We have now heard from the government perspective, the private sector, and the academia perspective. We'll now ask our two guests who have remained with us to join us on screen as we have a few questions from myself and from member states. I will start with Ms. Escobedo. Please join us on screen, Ms. Escobedo and Mr. Vanegas. Yes. Ms. Escobedo, what is needed from our governments to access and leverage the skillsbuild.org platform IBM is offering to accelerate the use and development of transformative technologies, specifically benefiting the youth? That's part one. And part two of my question is, what can IBM do to support a youth academy of the Americas on transformative technologies with a special focus on inclusion and diversity?
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. What we have been doing with certain governments around the world specifically is to address the identified needs that they have perceived in the skills and training systems, in the official systems. So we create specific paths that, for example, for women, and we have an exciting collaboration with Colombia, focused on women and providing them with skills on cybersecurity, for example. So the participants can access a digital badge. They can put it in their CV and resume and access to different opportunities. And we are trying really to measure the increase on employability from these interventions. So this really helps governments to inform public policy. So this is what we do with specific governments, signing an MOU and an agreement that we are going to collaborate and we are going to measure. The other that is, I think it's very exciting to be with you today, is that we really really believe that having such an academy focused on young people looking for interesting entry-level opportunities, we could scale the intervention at a regional and hemispherical level. So we could also define specific courses that we want to focus. The platform is free, it's online, everybody can access it. But we really need to sign an agreement in order to be able to measure the intervention, because we think that for public officials, it's really important to have this data on the courses that are more attractive to young people, those that are really changing their life stories and being a game changer. So although it's free, we really strongly recommend signing a collaboration so we can also offer mentorship from our experts and design any other content that we believe it's important, such as software development or more specific skills according to specific industries.
You are mute, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Escobedo. Madam Secretary, we have a clear next step to engage with IBM with an MOU to start the process of having their input in the academy. Thank you. I will now, Mr. Vanegas, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the goal that we have to build a youth academy for the Americas on transformative technologies as we work to reset education and retool skills building on the coming out of the COVID-19 period. And in fact, going further, incorporating some of those 5 pillars that you just outlined. And my second part of my question, what can institutions such as Texas A&M and the API do to support this endeavor?
Thank you for asking that question. In a nutshell, that's what the Academy stands for. and that's where our institution at A&M stands for. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of land grant institutions. We also have the designation of space grant and sea grant. What this means is that everything we do in the university has to eventually reach the hands of the citizens of whatever we are serving. The Academy has an agreement with the OAS in collaboration, so we are fully supportive of the concept of the Youth Academy. We have a set of distinguished, eminent engineers, but that doesn't mean that we only handle engineers. We have networks that actually pervade every single aspect of the economy. So I would say that we would be very, very interested in taking a more formal approach. One of the things that we also have, which I may offer, is that the Academy is revitalizing the Pan American Institute for Innovation, and that will be also dealing with education, innovation in education, and the idea that collaborating is really what makes anything. The Academy has in the past participated on the mobility of engineers, and I think that with today's world post-COVID, the fluidity of knowledge is tremendously everywhere. Skill builds is one example. But I have also learned through 40 years of being an academic that knowledge itself doesn't change anything. So I applaud the focus on the skills to actually use that knowledge in a possible way. If I were to tap the energy of curiosity and imagination that our youth have before they get contaminated with a system that strips them away from that, and I'm very vocal about that. Many of the institutionalized approaches to education are killing that creativity and imagination. And if you were to think for a second that you can put creative thinking, which is different to innovative thinking, which is different to design thinking, and I'm glad to hear the entrepreneurial thinking, what you have is a perfect pyramid with that fuel of curiosity and imagination. And if you wrap it up with digital thinking, systems thinking, and critical thinking, that's what we need to future-proof our world. So you have the commitment of the Academy, you have the commitment of Texas A&M, the Institute for Sustainable Communities that I'm also director is specifically using the unit of community. And I've had a chance actually, madam, to work in Jamaica in the accreditation of one of your UTEP, which is for architecture and urbanism. So I am a citizen of the Americans and the world, and you have our commitment to support the cause. You're muted again.
You're muted, Ambassador.
Thank you for that commitment. And we are taking up the offer that you are thinking of making. We have accepted it.
Thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of Madam Secretary. I want to also ask our member states, give our member states an opportunity to ask some questions of you both before you leave. I know member states, I know right after we are going to have your intervention where you will give your country-specific solutions and recommendations. But for this session, this part of the dialogue with our guests available, I want to ask you to stick to questions that you may have of the guests. Minister Cristian is not able to be with us anymore. He had to leave, but his team is still available if you want to ask questions from Minister Cristian's presentation. So again, this section is only for questions of our guests. And right after this, we will go into we'll continue the dialogue to hear about your country-specific interventions. So the floor is now open for questions for our guests. We recognize Canada, Delegation of Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Executive Secretary Osborne and Ambassador Marks. I believe this is the first time that I've had the opportunity to participate with you at the helm of our committee, and we are extremely grateful to have you chairing. And I must say that Canada deeply supports this new approach to our actual CIDI discussions. I think it's excellent for us to have a chance to exchange with our incredibly knowledgeable panelists. So if I may, I do have one quick question to ask both of our panelists. You each mentioned or briefly touched on the importance of the cross-cutting theme of gender equality and engaging, the particular focus of women and young females in this field of STEM. I would be most grateful if you could share a little bit more on how, in practical terms, for example, IBM is doing that, and then from your academic perspective as well, what, if there are any concrete approaches that are proving effective in this area in terms of getting more young women and getting more diverse perspectives around the table. So thank you very much for the opportunity, Ambassador Marks. And with that, I leave it to our panelists.
I'm going to start because it's a subject that I'm really passionate about, and I really think that companies, countries, academia, and civil society, we're doing big efforts to have more diversity in our teams. In the tech sector, we really believe that innovation cannot happen without diversity, and that diversity is there, but we need to execute specific and explicit actions to promote inclusion. And we at IBM, we believe that it's very dangerous to have homogeneous teams developing our technologies. For example, an easy example is artificial intelligence and how gender bias may be automated in the systems. This is just one example that underrepresentation of women can impact and have outcomes in the analogical world. So that's why we are also working in Mexico specifically with the industry and all our partners to really promote more girls in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics disciplines, to break stereotypes, to break prejudices that prevent more women to considering a career in this sector. My professional path is in the social sciences, but I truly believe that technology is increasingly a public interest matter. So we need more voices, and it's not just gender, but all underserved communities. We need these diverse voices to really, how Jorge said, to really tackle the curiosity and make the interesting and difficult questions that we need to have good technological solutions. Thank you.
My answer to that is actually, I'm also very passionate about this particular topic, and I'm actually very proud of some of the things we're doing. I'm proud to say that Texas A&M right now, a very large university, is in the hands of a woman president. She is an engineer, Dr. Catherine Banks. She has a good affinity for the North, South, all the way down to Chile. And I have seen her thrive. I would say that one of my first points, and I am actually a good example of that, women need to be in a position of leadership, not because we are empowering them. I don't like that word, and I'll explain why. But rather because we really believe in the concept of agency. The difference between empowerment and agency is that both are about making free choice and basically managing your life. But if I empower you, whatever it may be, a government empowering a community, a governor empowering a county, whatever it is, the structure of power is transferring that power to someone, but it doesn't change the structure of power. And the structure of power can only change through the leadership that reflects different perspectives, whether it's gender or the whole gender spectrum, or whether it's ethnic or cultural or socioeconomic, it doesn't really matter. That's a true issue of diversity. We had a pleasure of dealing with this issue, and we came up with this thinking that is JEDI thinking, J-E-D-I. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion all work with each other. The problem is that they can only happen when you have the right climate, the right type of accountability, and you choose the entry points very strategically. So the whole idea of STOP, which is strategic, tactical, operational, and practical, pragmatic, political, that's how you start changing things. And I would say that in my own college, I inherited only men as department heads and deans. Today, over half of them are women. And I can tell you that the change is real because it's a matter of perspective, not of chromosomes. It's a matter of perspective, sensibility, and the fact that my favorite slide is always a spinning globe with one phrase. We live in one world, with one race, with one future, with one life, at least now. And with that, we get to choose. So I choose to work with the whole spectrum because that's what really makes humanity what it is, and most important, what it can be.
Thank you very much to both our guests for those very interesting answers. And thank you, Canada, for that question. Professor Vanegas, may the force be with you. Let me now recognize the delegation of the USA.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Madam Ambassador, and thank you, panelists, for your thoughts. My question is for Ms. Escobedo, excuse me. You talk about this online learning platform. However, is IBM looking at providing face-to-face opportunities for young people? Some young people don't fare well online solely, though COVID did press an issue where we talk about the digital divide. Also, we wanted to make sure that young people were connected for educational purposes. But as you move forward, will there be a face-to-face component? I'm definitely interested in possibly internship opportunities for our young people in those technology fields.
Yeah, this is a great question that really is addressing some of the challenges of the pandemic and the screen fatigue. We are really tired of looking at a screen, and as soon as we can move to a more hybrid and mixed interventions and mentoring exercises, we are going to do it. So what we are contemplating with some of our partners is that we can have this online self-service content, but we need to really focus on the mentoring and to young people to have also role models to feel excited about opportunities. And this is what we are trying to do with some countries, and what we are partnering, because we also know that these exercises of training the trainer and having mentors train, this is a way to scale up our engagement, so people don't feel alone in their lifelong learning path, because it can get lonely to be at home and having just the screen as an interaction. So as soon as we can have hackathons and in-person courses and apprenticeship we are going to do it. That's for sure.
Well, thank you for your answer, and I thank the delegation of the USA for that question. And we now recognize the delegation of Costa Rica. Costa Rica, you have the floor.
I think she has problem to connect. I give the floor, but it's not in the screen. Señora Pizarro, si puede hacer refresh del navegador y solicitar la palabra nuevamente.
Había una falla técnica. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta, secretaria Osborne, por supuesto, mil gracias por este espacio y a los panelistas. Muchas gracias por una presentación amplia y sobre todo tan llena de pensamientos tan certeros. Definitivamente todos estamos interconectados, son temas que no se pueden ver como islas. Todos los sectores, los campos, las especializaciones definitivamente se entrelazan con la educación, con el desarrollo del capital humano, la creación de nuevas, justamente de nuevas habilidades. Y, por supuesto, se trabaja desde luego con los gobiernos, con las ONGs, organismos internacionales como este, efectivamente. Y cosas tan importantes como la promoción de nuestros países, como la generación de información y datos, definitivamente se entrelazan para lograr un mundo mejor y sobre todo para nuestras juventudes. Quisiera preguntarle a ambos en esta oportunidad, ¿cómo garantizamos que toda esa educación, que toda esa construcción de habilidades, sobre todo con un futuro como el de ahora, tan lleno de tecnología, tan lleno de digitalización, los jóvenes puedan acceder a un mundo laboral que efectivamente esté construido para ello? Ustedes desde sus campos, oyendo hablar ahora a la señora Escobedo de los internships, también se piensa en mercados laborales, bolsas de empleo, por ejemplo, o alianzas con socios estratégicos que justamente dirijan toda esa educación y toda esa creación de habilidades a nuevos mercados laborales. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias. ¿Puedo contestar en español? Or should I speak in English? I will continue speaking in English, if you don't mind.
Señor Vanegas, tenemos interpretación. Si quiere hablar en español, no hay problema.
Ok. Entonces, como soy de Colombia, voy a hablar en español para nuestro colega de Costa Rica. Es una pregunta excelente y la manera como nosotros estamos trabajando eso es que si la academia está aislada de la industria, no vamos a llegar a nada. Hoy en día hay muchas asociaciones académicas con industria que tienen que ser. Y noten que no estoy metiendo gobiernos a propósito dentro de ese panorama, porque ese triángulo de gobierno, industria y academia tiene sus propias idiosincrasias. Lo que nosotros hacemos es que dependemos mucho de juntas asesoras que nos permitan calibrar, no dictar, pero calibrar lo que hacemos nosotros desde el punto y la perspectiva de la industria. Hay muchas industrias y mi industria específica es la industria de la arquitectura, ingeniería y construcción, que es $1 trillón al año en Estados Unidos solamente. Así que es algo que se está haciendo, que hay sectores que no son tan apetecibles hoy en día y uno de los argumentos que tenemos nosotros, especialmente dentro del mundo en que yo me meto, es que las habilidades no son específicas a disciplinas. O sea, una habilidad que pueda tener un ingeniero desde una perspectiva digital se puede aplicar a medicina, a salud, a educación y demás. Y un buen ejemplo de eso es crear nuevas posibilidades laborales. Nosotros acabamos de lanzar un programa que se llama EnMed, Ingeniería y Medicina. Al mismo tiempo tienen el doctorado en medicina y una maestría en ingeniería para el desarrollo de tecnologías para la salud de todo tipo. Estamos haciendo lo mismo con arquitectura y demás. O sea, lo que estamos hablando no solamente de convergencia de tecnologías, sino trascendencia de esas tecnologías a través de varios sectores. Y ahí es donde viene la industria. Porque mientras haya valor en lo que hacemos y se entienda el lenguaje de la industria, hay por lo menos mucha esperanza. El problema es cuando hay ese divorcio que cree que la academia y la industria están en polos opuestos. Hay académicos que no les gusta trabajar con industria. Hay gente de la industria que no respeta a los académicos. Y para mí se necesitan todos trabajando juntos. Y en inglés, lo voy a decir, el paradigma más grande es cambiar una letra. En inglés es me, M-E. Change the M to a W and you get a we. Y ahí es donde en verdad creo que hay esperanza para el futuro. Trabajar juntos independientemente de fronteras artificiales políticas, sociales, económicas y demás.
Me encanta lo que menciona Jorge y también voy a seguir en español y creo que es cierto la parte de la transversalidad y cómo las habilidades digitales son pertinentes cada vez más para diferentes sectores. Y la verdad es que durante toda la historia siempre las nuevas herramientas y las nuevas tecnologías cambian la forma en la que trabajamos. La diferencia actual es que la velocidad del cambio sí está generando un desfase. Entonces, de acuerdo con la pregunta que nos hacen, creo que es muy importante esta transformación que también está ocurriendo en el mercado laboral, en el que cada vez somos más empresas que estamos contratando, no por grados académicos. No nos interesa tener al ingeniero ya graduado, sino revalorar estos trayectos técnicos que muchas veces en nuestros países no tienen o han perdido ese valor. También transformar los planes curriculares. Por ejemplo, en la ciudad de Guadalajara tenemos un ejercicio con la Universidad Autónoma de Guadalajara en la que acortamos los trayectos curriculares de bachillerato y de educación superior para que en 5 años los chicos y las chicas ya salgan listos para tener una experiencia laboral. Si después quieren terminar su grado adelante, si quieren tener una licenciatura, una ingeniería, un posgrado, pero que no sea un impedimento para entrar con esa curiosidad que traen a trabajar, ¿no? Y siempre, como menciona Jorge, este acompañamiento de la industria, estas alianzas academia-industria son muy importantes y vemos el éxito que tiene, ¿no? Sobre todo en países latinoamericanos donde la informalidad es creciente, la precarización del trabajo también es una tendencia a nivel global. Y otra vez, regresando al tema de las mujeres, creo que el mercado de trabajo se flexibilizó con la pandemia. Cada vez más estos esquemas en que las mujeres pueden combinar su ambición profesional con sus ambiciones domésticas y la carga a veces desproporcionada de trabajo, de cuidado que tenemos. Es importante que esto se considere en el mercado de trabajo y creo que es una tendencia que va acompañando a esta necesidad de crear habilidades digitales.
¿Puedo agregar algo? May I add just one more thought? Entrepreneurship, and I cannot translate it, emprendedurismo o emprendimiento. Entrepreneurship is offering an alternative to a new generation, because one thing that we cannot forget is that the values, the mentalities of the youth today are not the same ones that created the institutions that offer jobs today. So there is a gap where the youth is going to invent their own job. I have that. I was a co-founder of Startup Aguilan, which was an incubator and accelerator for students, managed by students, and it was a fantastic laboratory of exploration and actual launching of several enterprises. So don't neglect that part of entrepreneurship, because the new generation wants to be in control of their life. Loyalty for 50 years to get a gold watch is no longer viable.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that intervention. I see there are no additional questions. So I really want to thank our guests for this very interesting conversation and very useful, very practical conversation. Ms. Escobedo, thank you for the work that you're doing. And I look forward with Madam Secretary for the signing of the collaborative agreement so we can get that support to our youths from IBM. Mr. Vanegas, we will have to have continued conversations. You have touched on some very important perspectives that I would like to hear more about. And I thank you for making the time to visit Jamaica. And I look forward to hearing when you'll visit again.
I will do. Thank you very much. Fond memories, very fond memories.
Great to hear. On behalf of the entire team at the OAS and the member states, I thank you both very much for joining us today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice rest of the meeting.
Thank you. I now invite our member states to share their country-specific needs, solutions, and offers of cooperation as it relates to the region's youth readiness on transformative science and technologies. Delegations can address the key gaps or challenges to develop the critical skills our young people need to reap benefit of Industry 4.0. I also invite you to share good practices or innovative approaches and any offers of regional cooperation or partnerships to address the priority identified by the COMSIT. I now recognize the delegation of the United States. Is it? No? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate this opportunity to share what the United States is doing around this very important topic. And we do again appreciate the panelists and their expertise in this area. Supporting and funding for young people in our nation is one of the important tenets of what we do in the United States of America, especially young people who have been disconnected. Those young people who, again, are not in school and not connected to any employment opportunities. And the Division of Youth Services at the U.S. Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration, that is the mission and goal of our efforts. We want to make sure that our young people around the country are connected to academic opportunities, technical opportunities, and work readiness skills so that they can be successful in all fields of endeavors, but especially those around science and technology. In the States, we call that STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And it's one of the driving forces of innovation and the foundation for numerous in-demand jobs in America. In fact, STEM-related jobs in science and technology is the fastest growing economy and job market in our nation. We do have some challenges in this area to address around connecting our young people to innovative, to technology and science. First, we have a dropout problem or a disconnection from formal education. Before the pandemic, the US dropout rate was 5%, and approximately 5 million young people ages 16 to 24 were not working and not in formal education. We know with the pandemic, there is estimates that we have lost more young people to financial responsibilities for their family. So many young people cease to go to school, cease to log into their classrooms because they have financial responsibilities to their family. So we don't know what that number is, but we know that may be a challenge when we're trying to connect them to those opportunities. Also in the United States of America, we are looking to strengthen our mathematics and science foundations for our young people. We do not fare well sometimes in that area. And so we're looking better for tutoring opportunities and opportunities to strengthen those areas. Secondly, we want to make sure that we engage young women and young girls in the opportunities of STEM. And this is mentioned earlier today in the presentation. Though college-educated women in America make up more than half of the workforce, only 28% of women actually connect to a science or technology field. And also noted, women make 20% less than men in these science and technology fields in the United States of America. We are working hard to minimize that gap for women and also provide them with opportunities for mentoring, continued support, and networking opportunities that they may not receive on the job and in the education field. Also, in addition, affordable and flexible childcare is a challenge many times for women who are working in this area. And we want to make sure that we connect them to the possible supportive services so that they can be successful. Secondly, we noted this earlier in this conversation, every STEM-related opportunity is not connected to a four-year degree. In our country, we are looking very hard at promoting opportunities that are not four-year related to a university degree. And this includes solar, wind, and water energy, cybersecurity, as well as gas and oil drilling. We want to promote other pathways to these wonderful opportunities, including career and technical education, two-year community colleges, as well as the military as a pathway to STEM opportunities. We have amazing practices in our country that is working well for us, and we look forward to strengthening those as well. Under Joseph R. Biden, our president's initiative to Build Back Better, there's also a focus on building opportunities for young people. And our president and his administration has noted three areas of strength that we have. Number one, we will work very hard to make sure that our access to post-secondary education is affordable and that we support students while they're in the campuses. This includes tutoring, mentoring, financial literacy to help them find scholarships so that they're not in debt, and also making sure that we connect them to the workforce and we prepare them for the workforce. Under President Biden's initiative, he also wants to help young people who are in charge and caring for their families, whether that young person's in charge of taking care of an elder or that young person's in charge of taking care of their own children. He looked forward to making sure that we provide affordable health care and affordable child care for all families. And this, of course, would help improve for a lot of young women and girls and young fathers their connection to the STEM field. Thirdly, this administration looks forward to building the capacity of our workforce. As we just heard, entrepreneurship is now the word. Our young people now want to work for themselves, create their own hours. We want to strengthen that ability for our young people to create new pathways for work, including in STEM. And so we also want to make sure that we increase those activities for women, persons of color, and persons with disabilities to connect to STEM. The Department of Labor has recently invested close to $100 million in increasing the access of young people to registered apprenticeship programs. This is a major investment for us. As many of you know, the average age of an apprentice in Western European countries is about 18. In the United States of America, it's about 30 years old. And we are looking to improve that and make sure that more young people are connected to registered apprenticeships, especially in the areas of cybersecurity, information technology, and healthcare. We also want to make sure that our U.S. Department of Labor continues its investments in workforce and work-related skill building for young people, including our pre-apprenticeship programs of Youth Build and Job Corps. Both of these programs work with young people ages 16 to 24 who have, again, dropped out of formal education. They work with the young person half-time in the classroom and half-time on the job skills training. Many of these programs focus around the STEM-related skills to connect a young person, prepare them mathematically, scientifically, and with their literacy so that they can work or connect to a registered apprenticeship. We also have additional investments that we've made, Youth Career Connect, where we have invested dollars to connect high school students who are in school to rigorous academic opportunities and connecting them to in-demand jobs in their region. This also included around healthcare, as information technology, and manufacturing around the STEM-related skills. We want to make sure, again, that we continue to invest in workforce activities and work-related activities for young people. Summer jobs is something that we just wrapped up here in the States, and many of our young people have returned back to school. And so summer job is a wonderful opportunity, a young person's first time to enter into the workforce. We want to make those more engaging. We want to make sure that we connect young people to internships and job shadowing opportunities so they can explore opportunities that they may not thought was possible for themselves, as well as on-the-job training. We have invested millions of dollars for online skill exploration. We have an online tool known as careeronestop.org that has amazing videos, actually connects people to jobs and internships, even has a scholarship search finder for young people to find jobs and adults as well. So we want to make sure that that is a free tax paid for activity. We have also invested $20 million recently to 4 national organizations that work with young people after school. So a young person would go to school and then they would go to their after school program. Maybe their parents are working late. And we have invested money to make sure that those young people are being exposed to amazing workforce opportunities that they may not have thought was possible before then. So we just want to wrap up and say, we have a lot to learn around this issue. We want to continue exchanging this information with our other partner countries, our sister countries. We have learned a lot from our sister countries around the world, especially when it comes to apprenticeship, as we again try to offer that more to younger apprentices around our country. We look forward to sharing with you guys more. We do have youth build programs around the world. We have over 57 youth build programs in 17 other countries. And we want you all to explore those. And I will share that with my missions, the link to that information so you all can have that. And in closing, the United States will continue to mobilize resources and investments to continue to increase the ability for young people to connect to science and technology opportunities. And I thank the chair for this opportunity to share.
Thank you, the U.S. delegation, for that comprehensive intervention and for the work that is being done to engage the youth and provide opportunities. I note that the next person is Mr. Vanegas. I'm wondering if that's an error. That's on the request list. Is Mr. Vanegas still on? No? Okay, corrected. All right. We will now recognize the delegation of Peru, Ms. Vasquez. Is it Peru? And a reminder to member states that we actually have a time constraint, so we ask that you keep within the 5 minutes for your intervention. Ms. Vasquez, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta, embajadora Marx. Gracias también, señora secretaria ejecutiva Osborne. Me gustaría, señora presidenta, que pueda ceder el uso de la palabra al señor Neido Hidalgo, especialista de la Subdirección de Ciencia, Tecnología y Talentos del CONCITEC Perú, quien ha tenido bien acompañarnos para compartir la experiencia del Perú en el tema de hoy.
Please go ahead.
Señor Hidalgo, si puede encender su cámara y su micrófono. Muy bien, lo escuchamos y lo vemos. Perdón, no lo escuchamos. ¿Algún problema de audio tenemos? No. Si puedo hacer refresh del navegador y solicitar la palabra nuevamente. O cambiar el micrófono en settings.
Ahora sí.
Ahí sí lo escuchamos.
Bien, disculpe la interrupción. Muchísimas gracias, embajadora Audrey Marks, y a través suyo a todos los presentes, muy buenas tardes. Gracias por cederme la palabra. Yo rápidamente voy a pasar a compartir una brevísima presentación para que podamos exponer también lo que viene haciendo, en este caso, el programa especial de popularización de la ciencia, que forma parte del Consejo Nacional de Ciencia y Tecnología. No sé si me pueden confirmar si se ve la pantalla, por favor.
Sí, adelante.
Bueno, antes que nada, nosotros somos parte del Consejo Nacional de Ciencia y Tecnología en el Perú. El Perú no tiene un Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología, está en camino hacia eso. Pero dentro de este Consejo Nacional de Ciencia y Tecnología, que es el CONCITEC, somos parte de un programa especial que busca popularizar la ciencia y la tecnología, así como la innovación tecnológica a nivel nacional, para fomentar la cultura científica. Hemos comprendido perfectamente la importancia de democratizar el conocimiento científico, y qué mejor que a través de la divulgación científica para que los ciudadanos en el Perú adquieran pues una cultura científica y con ello pensamiento crítico, mejore ciudadanía, ¿no? En esta pandemia, por supuesto que mientras el mundo transita a pasos agigantados hacia esta revolución que llamamos la revolución 4.0, la pandemia pues ha develado, ha desnudado ciertas carencias. Una de ellas ha sido conectividad. En el caso del Perú, nos encontró con una muy baja conectividad, lo cual está siendo remontado. En este último reporte se verifica que hemos tenido un crecimiento de más del 200% en conectividad 4.G, ¿no? Como les decía, lo que voy a presentar son lo que venimos haciendo solamente en el programa especial de popularización de la ciencia, que son exactamente 3 acciones, ¿no? Una de ellas es la generación de capacidades a través de los clubes de ciencia y tecnología que fomenta el CONCITEC, el proyecto expositivo Tagua, Revolución 4.0. Tagua es una palabra quechua que significa 4, y el proyecto especial Espacio Ciencia. Los clubes de ciencia son espacios de educación no formal que fomentamos en los colegios, tanto públicos como privados, para que los escolares pues se perfilen hacia vocaciones en ciencia y tecnología. Actualmente tenemos fomentados o promovidos por el CONCITEC más de 6.000 clubes a nivel nacional, lo cual quiere decir que son más de 70.000 escolares en todas las regiones del Perú, tanto en colegios públicos como privados, y que son tutoriados, que son mentoreados por más de 7.000 docentes asesores. Este es importantísimo, es una actividad de mediano y largo plazo muy importante, porque si imaginamos en más de 80.000 colegios a nivel nacional tendríamos un solo club de ciencia y tecnología, pues el capital humano hacia la ciencia crecería realmente exponencialmente en nuestro país, ¿no? Así como mencionaban el tema de género, los clubes de ciencia y tecnología en los colegios está integrado principalmente por mujeres, ¿no? Por ejemplo, en secundarias, donde hay la mayor cantidad de clubes de ciencia y tecnología, vemos que 51% está compuesto por mujeres. Sin embargo, cuando pasamos ya a carreras de ciencia en la universidad, esto se revierte y hay un decrecimiento tremendo en cuanto a la presencia de las mujeres. Esto también lo ha observado el CONCITEC, y por eso que también tenemos otras actividades desarrolladas a fomentar la participación de las mujeres en carreras de ciencia, ¿no? Otro punto importante también es que, por ejemplo, a través de estos clubes de ciencia estamos nosotros promoviendo, desarrollando, llevando a cabo diversos talleres que tienen que ver con tecnologías de la información, que tienen que ver con la industria 4.0, porque es importante fomentar la educación, el aprendizaje a esta revolución que el mundo vive, ¿no? Queremos nosotros ciudadanos que estén preparados, sino a participar directamente como investigadores científicos, sí a tener un pensamiento crítico, un uso de la metodología científica en su rol como ciudadanos. Es así que en este último año el CONCITEC ha llevado a más de 40 talleres, entre los principales están los de pensamiento lógico computacional, están los de manejo de tecnologías para la información, así como diseños de proyectos en CTI y programación, por supuesto, ¿no? En cuanto al proyecto Tawa, Revolución 4.0, les comentaba que Tawa es una palabra quechua que significa cuatro. El imperio de los incas se llamaba Tahuantinsuyo, que quiere decir los cuatro rincones del sol. Tawa Inti Suyo. Y aquí, a través de esta revolución, de esta exposición presencial 4.0, Tawa, queremos justamente acercar lo que el mundo vive actualmente en tecnología para preparar a nuestros escolares, que es nuestro público principal, hacia esta revolución, ¿no? Hacia este enorme conocimiento. Y eso lo queremos nosotros implementar en un gran museo que se ha abierto, que es el Museo Nacional, en una exposición súper interactiva, súper inmersiva también, y para eso estamos participando junto con el Ministerio de Cultura del Perú para llevar a cabo esta exposición que requiere, por supuesto, de conseguir los patrocinios necesarios, ¿no? Como les decía, Tawa es una exposición que va a girar en torno a 5 ítems. Nanotecnología, con una exposición dedicada a representar que somos los gigantes en un mundo microscópico. Otro circuito referido a inteligencia artificial, más que humanos. Un tercer circuito referido a 5G, adiós al Wi-Fi. Un cuarto circuito referido a realidad virtual y realidad aumentada. Y un quinto circuito referido al Internet de las Cosas, ¿no? IoT, bajo el lema Un Mundo Hiperconectado. Consideramos, por supuesto, que hay muchas más tecnologías emergentes que son dignas pero de exhibir, de difundir, pero queremos empezar con estos 5 circuitos para a partir de allí hacer el enlace a las tecnologías, al conocimiento milenario de nuestro país para que los escolares del Perú puedan identificarse con estas tecnologías y no la vean como una tecnología foránea, ¿no? Es más, también narrar los espacios donde se puede aprender esta tecnología, donde se puede practicar tecnologías de este tipo en el Perú. Bien. Aquí vemos una vista de Tawa desde la parte superior del Museo Nacional, con el recorrido de los visitantes, con espacios para talleres también, ¿no? Entonces, nosotros como el programa de popularización, lo que estamos siempre pensando es que debemos hacer la mayor divulgación posible, porque no hay mayor hecho democrático que democratizar el conocimiento científico, ¿no? Y otro proyecto también que está desarrollando el CONCITEC a partir del Programa Especial de Popularización de la Ciencia es el proyecto Espacio Ciencia, y esto me permito comentarlo de manera especial porque este es un proyecto que lo hemos presentado también en la OEA. Es una gran plataforma virtual. Mientras Tawa es presencial, Espacio Ciencia es virtual. Una gran plataforma virtual que sirva de punto focal de la ciencia, la tecnología y la innovación en el Perú, donde a través de módulos se fomente una cultura de la innovación, de la competitividad, de la productividad y sobre todo la preparación para la industria 4.0 entre los peruanos, ¿no? Visibilizando de esta manera soluciones desde la ciencia, la tecnología y la innovación, sobre todo a nuestros retos como nación, ¿no? Y este es un importante espacio porque el Perú carece de espacios tanto físicos como virtuales para la divulgación de la ciencia y la tecnología. El Perú no tiene un Museo Nacional de Ciencia y Tecnología. Tenemos más de 500 museos, pero por ser un país de ancestral cultura, la mayoría de estos 500 museos, 495 están dedicados a historia, arqueología, etnografía, en fin, ¿no? Y muy pocos a ciencia y tecnología. Por eso que ponemos todas nuestras expectativas en espacios virtuales como este o en exposiciones de ciencia y tecnología como les acabo de presentar, ¿no? Espacio Ciencia, además, tiene como objetivo principal fortalecer las capacidades de los jóvenes en ciencia, tecnología e innovación y garantizar sobre todo la preparación para la industria 4.0. Si ustedes hace poco hablaban de una academia, esta es nuestra propuesta de academia en el Perú para fomentar la preparación para la industria 4.0. Y además, por supuesto, Espacio Ciencia incluiría un circuito con una exposición de ciencias como las ciencias naturales, las ciencias de la tierra, la nutrición y la salud pública, los conocimientos y tecnologías nativos, la historia de la ciencia y la tecnología, la producción industrial, la energía y ambiente, y sobre todo una gran exposición también aquí sobre tecnologías de la cuarta revolución tecnológica. Es nuestro compromiso que si Espacio Ciencia se logra concretar, haya una gran exposición virtual sobre las tecnologías de la cuarta revolución tecnológica, que es muy importante para nosotros. Y como primera exposición temporal, estamos nosotros pensando o proyectando hacer una gran exposición sobre científicas en el Perú para visibilizar la presencia de las mujeres en nuestro país. Bien, muchísimas gracias. Tal vez he ocupado mis 5 minutos. Gracias a ustedes.
Thank you. We thank you for your comprehensive presentation. You're just about 9 minutes, but since you're joining us from Capital, we gave you a little extra time. But I remind member states to please try and stay within 5 minutes. I will now recognize the delegation of Ecuador. Ambassador Tito, you are on. Excellency, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora Presidente. Saludo a usted en el ejercicio de la presidencia del Consejo Interamericano de Desarrollo Integral, así como a la secretaria ejecutiva Kim Osman. Agradezco muy cumplidamente a los panelistas invitados por sus ilustrativas presentaciones, y en especial a la señora Andrea Escobedo y al profesor Vanegas por sus valiosas reflexiones sobre el tema que nos ocupa. La pandemia del COVID-19 ha modificado la forma en que vivimos, trabajamos y nos relacionamos. Ha puesto también en evidencia la desigualdad en el acceso a la educación y la gran brecha informática existente en la región de las Américas. Asimismo, ha confirmado la necesidad de reconfigurar el sistema económico para mejorar la competitividad y aplicar las tecnologías que conforman la cuarta revolución industrial. La nueva industria 4.0 está tipificándose como una economía digital impulsada por la transformación y la evolución exponencial de las telecomunicaciones, del comercio electrónico, el cómputo en la nube, el Big Data, el Internet de las Cosas, la inteligencia artificial y la robótica. Estas herramientas representan una oportunidad para encontrar una salida duradera a la crisis sanitaria, así como para constituir un factor determinante de la supervivencia de las empresas y la preservación del empleo que generan. La revolución 4.0 también exige a los jóvenes que se incorporan al mercado laboral habilidades y conocimientos inéditos, producto de una capacitación en investigación y en ciencias aplicadas. Esta preparación se erige en factor clave para asegurar la continuidad del desarrollo digital y la competitividad de los países, que supondrá un requerimiento incesante de profesionales cada vez más calificados y polivalentes. Según la Organización para la Cooperación y Desarrollo Económico, el 80% de los empleos actualmente de mayor demanda desaparecerán hasta el año 2030 y serán reemplazados por carreras en ciencia, tecnología, ingeniería y matemáticas, las llamadas STEM. Mi país persigue instituir un procedimiento pedagógico inclusivo y altamente calificado que ofrezca una instrucción integral y continua de la juventud, en la cual las STEM no solo serán consideradas como materias, sino como instrumentos que les permitan a nuestros jóvenes ser creativos, investigadores e innovadores. Otro reto consiste en impulsar la participación de las mujeres en estos estudios, como nos advertían los panelistas, ya que actualmente solo el 16% accede a esa clase de disciplinas. A través de la Secretaría de Educación Superior, Ciencia, Tecnología e Innovación, el CENESID, en alianza con Cisco Network and Academy, se lanzó el programa Fortalecimiento en Habilidades Tecnológicas, que busca robustecer el pensum académico de los institutos superiores, capacitando a sus estudiantes en temáticas relacionadas con entornos cibernéticos y formar profesionales altamente acreditados que asuman los retos y desafíos de la sociedad futura. A fin de lograr la participación activa de los jóvenes en el mercado laboral y la reactivación productiva, el 22 de julio, el Servicio Ecuatoriano de Capacitación Profesional y la Asociación de Jóvenes Empresarios del Ecuador suscribieron una carta de intención para cooperar en la preparación y certificación de la fuerza laboral que potenciará a las empresas y permitirá cubrir las nuevas necesidades de plazas de trabajo. Además, Con el ánimo de afianzar la fuerza laboral nacional, el 20 de agosto se firmó el convenio interinstitucional entre el Ministerio de Trabajo y la Fundación Telefónica Movistar Ecuador, que instituye el programa Conecta Empleo para que la población joven adquiera un perfil digital y mejore su inserción ocupacional. El 10 de agosto, la Asamblea Nacional aprobó el proyecto de reformas a la Ley Orgánica de Emprendimiento e Innovación que canalizará la conversión de las ideas de los jóvenes recién graduados de los colegios y facultades de negocios en empresas e industrias que creen empleo, comercio y bienestar con un acompañamiento público-privado. Al día siguiente, el presidente de la República lideró el lanzamiento del Plan Nacional de Educación y Formación Técnico-Profesional, destinado a beneficiar anualmente a cerca de 283,000 estudiantes de bachillerato técnico y 114,000 estudiantes de materias afines, con un incremento histórico del 30% de la oferta académica y que contribuirá a ampliar las oportunidades de vinculación laboral temprana. Se ha presentado a la Asamblea Nacional el proyecto denominado Ley de Oportunidades Laborales. Es una propuesta con un esquema de incentivos no económicos orientados al sector empresarial y que facilitará el ingreso al mercado de trabajo de jóvenes entre los 18 y 29 años. Debo añadir que el Ecuador preside desde noviembre de 2020 la Agenda Digital Regional para América Latina y el Caribe, el ELAC 2022. Dicha agenda plantea el uso de tecnologías digitales como instrumentos de desarrollo sostenible. Tiene como misión desarrollar el ecosistema digital en la región mediante un proceso de integración y cooperación que fortalezca las políticas promotoras del conocimiento, la equidad y la innovación. Uno de los ejes de acción es el de inclusión, competencias y habilidades digitales, para lo cual, en conjunto con la CEPAL, se ha planificado realizar actividades de capacitación y estudio que estarán a disposición de los ciudadanos de las Américas a fin de fortalecer las capacidades relacionadas con el uso de las tecnologías de la información y nuevas tecnologías. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. We thank the delegation of Ecuador and now welcome the delegation of Costa Rica.
El agradecimiento a usted y a la CIDI por tratar este tema y sobre todo agradecer las exposiciones realizadas por estos distinguidos expertos invitados el día de hoy. Costa Rica se complace en abordar los retos en esta materia, pero sobre todo las oportunidades que ha puesto aún más en evidencia la pandemia del COVID-19 que todavía nos aqueja. Debemos aunar esfuerzos para proteger a los más vulnerables, para cerrar las brechas y reconstruir mejor. Debemos perseguir que todo niño, niña y adolescente tenga educación de calidad y todas las herramientas necesarias para facilitar su inserción en el mundo laboral, para conseguir mejores puestos de trabajo e incluso el desarrollo de sus propios emprendimientos. La educación es la piedra angular para el desarrollo y la libertad individual, así como para el progreso colectivo. Por ello, teniendo como herramienta la digitalización, nos corresponde pensar en una recuperación económica inclusiva, respetuosa de los derechos humanos, con visión de equidad de género y, desde luego, sostenible. Costa Rica, en su camino hacia la cuarta revolución industrial, con un enfoque integral y teniendo como prioridades la innovación, el talento humano y el conocimiento, han adoptado estrategias y programas nacionales, de los que cabe mencionar particularmente 3. La primera es la Estrategia de Transformación Digital hacia la Costa Rica del Bicentenario, concebida para que el país construya y a su vez se beneficie de 2 grandes desarrollos que transforman los procesos productivos y la calidad de vida de las personas: la cuarta revolución industrial y las sociedades del conocimiento, teniendo como catalizador las tecnologías digitales. Segundo, la Estrategia Económica Territorial para una economía inclusiva y descarbonizada, que traza la ruta para reconstruir en los próximos 30 años una economía descentralizada, digitalizada y descarbonizada, siendo los territorios rurales los que podrían ser más beneficiados del plan, con soluciones como la sofisticación de las actividades productivas, así como aprovechando y potenciando el capital humano y todos los demás recursos propios de las diferentes regiones, impulsando actividades económicas alineadas a la descarbonización. El programa Talento 4.0, Laboratorios de Innovación hacia una alfabetización digital para la sociedad y la economía basada en el conocimiento, es justamente la tercera iniciativa que queremos compartir y además es un fiel reflejo de las estrategias mencionadas previamente. Con proyección en todo el territorio nacional desde su primera fase en el año 2005, se le dará continuidad gracias al Fondo de Cooperación para el Desarrollo de la OEA durante el ciclo 2021-2024 y aunado esto a socios estratégicos. Su finalidad es el desarrollo de habilidades, conocimientos y destrezas relacionadas con la industria 4.0 de la población costarricense, pasando de ser centros comunitarios inteligentes a laboratorios de innovación comunitaria. Busca además apoyar el proceso de recuperación post-pandemia del COVID-19 y construir resiliencia a largo plazo. No podemos olvidar que los conocimientos básicos de la era digital deben complementarse con los conceptos de la industria 4.0, impulsados desde estos laboratorios con perspectiva de género, con una visión de impulsar las capacidades para la empleabilidad y una cultura de innovación y emprendimiento con visión territorial. Señora Presidenta, para Costa Rica, este desafío debe ser una oportunidad para reconstruir mejor desde la descentralización, la sostenibilidad y la digitalización, pero sobre todo teniendo a las personas como su eje central en la búsqueda de su desarrollo y desde la unión de nuestras naciones y esfuerzos conjuntos para ello. Necesitamos un replanteamiento de la cooperación internacional más allá de los esquemas tradicionales, enfocándonos especialmente en su utilización efectiva y eficiente. Agradecemos e instamos a continuar con su trabajo a la CIDI, en especial al equipo del Departamento de Desarrollo Económico y al Fondo de Cooperación para el Desarrollo de la OEA en su acompañamiento a los Estados miembros. No omito manifestarles que Costa Rica está en la mejor disposición de intercambiar experiencias que puedan ser de utilidad también para nuestra región. Muchísimas gracias, señora Presidenta.
We thank the delegation of Costa Rica, and we now recognize the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome back, Your Excellency. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. And since this is the first occasion on which our delegation takes the floor to contribute to this very, very engaging dialogue today, I wish to express our congratulations to you on having assumed the chairmanship and the commitment of our continued support.
Thank you.
Chair, Excellencies, interim and alternate representatives, Executive Secretary Osborne, ladies and gentlemen. Today, even before I go into my remarks, I should pause to acknowledge and extend congratulations to all citizens or nationals of Trinidad and Tobago at the OAS on this 59th anniversary of our nation's independence. Chair, the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago must express our appreciation to our distinguished presenters this afternoon, who, if I had to capture it in just 5 words, took time to share the passion for changing the prevailing paradigm on how we approach improving critical skills and the readiness of our youth for Industry 4.0. Their presentations were extremely insightful on what is undoubtedly a very timely and relevant topic, particularly as we celebrated International Youth Day very recently, just on August 12th. This discussion on the opportunities for cooperation and collaboration among member states to assist the region's youth in developing their skills in transformative sciences and technologies is relevant, given both, oh dear, 1 second, I'm trying to preserve my connection here. I think I succeeded. Thank you. Yeah, I suppose I'm not so old after all. You know, this discussion is relevant given both the challenges and opportunities that have emerged with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And so I wish to also express appreciation to the other delegations that shared so generously and liberally of the measures being undertaken in their respective jurisdictions to advance this process. This extraordinarily uncertain environment in which we live now has highlighted the need for economic diversification and a review of traditional business in light of the reduction in in-person commercial activity and the increase in online and e-business transactions. The provision of education and training for youth and their inclusion in any efforts at capitalizing on the opportunities presented by Industry 4.0 is critical for readiness for future global market dynamics in this increasingly rapidly evolving fourth industrial revolution. The public policy of Trinidad and Tobago regarding young people is guided by our National Youth Policy 2020 to 2025, which has the theme of prioritize youth economic participation and empowerment as one of its 8 development pillars. To this end, the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago is committed to collaborating with strategic partners to, among other things, 1, improve the policy environment and institutional frameworks for youth-led micro, small, and medium enterprise development. 2, to facilitate their access to finance and business development services such as those offered by the IBM for all youth entrepreneurs, to support a youth-led national dialogue on the future of work in Trinidad and Tobago, and to ensure the inclusive and active participation in such an initiative, and finally, to develop and harness opportunities provided by new and emerging industries and supporting initiatives that foster and advance technology and innovation. Specifically, in collaboration with the Institute of Technology, that ministry has launched free online short courses on information and communication technology for young persons between the ages of 16 and 25, with the objective of equipping them to be part of the emerging digital global market. Participants have the option to choose courses on coding, introduction to mobile application development, and of course, web design. I should also briefly mention, Chair, distinguished colleagues, our National Institute for Higher Education, Research, Science, and Technology, and in particular, its Technopreneurship Program and Academy. And Chair and Executive Secretary, if I may, as I prepare to close, I think the discussions this afternoon suggest that it might now be useful to us to contemplate creating a networked advisory task force for member states of all such institutes. We've heard of member states speaking of their respective institutions that are working in this area. And again, if we're speaking about meaningful cooperation, I think this is a real opportunity. Chair, distinguished colleagues, as I close, I'm obliged to highlight that the ongoing health pandemic has significantly impacted in-person instruction and consequently the delivery of education in the process. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the Government of Trinidad and Tobago, through its Ministry of Education, has been working diligently to continue delivering quality education through its school learning management system. Consequently, cooperation and technological advancement for education and training is one area in which we are deeply interested and ready to collaborate. This delegation is grateful for the work being undertaken by CIDI to ensure that we address the gaps in access to technology and education. Our efforts must be united in advocating for and advancing towards inclusive approaches that adequately equip our young people to participate in and benefit from technological advances. Chair, the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago remains committed and open to working with fellow member states, permanent observers, the General Secretariat, and all our other partners in the Inter-American system to increase opportunities and improve skills for youth in transformative science and technologies. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador Phyllis Spencer. And let me take this opportunity to congratulate you and your country on your 59th Independence Day. We wish you a wonderful celebration and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We now take this opportunity to recognize the delegation of Canada, Ms. White.
Thank you again, Chair, and good afternoon once again to all. Before we go forward, please also allow my delegation to wish a very happy National Independence Day to the distinguished ambassador, our embassy colleagues, and the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago. The Canadian delegation will need to know if there's a national drink or some national dish that we should partake in tonight so we can toast and celebrate accordingly. With respect to the discussion today, further to what other distinguished colleagues have said, the young people in Canada are no different. They are engaged, they're resourceful and resilient, and they've made great sacrifices over the past year to help with the fight against the global COVID-19 pandemic. They will be central to efforts everywhere to build back better from the crisis. Canada has a series of domestic skills training, employment, and work integrated learning initiatives that promote the development of STEM skills at a young age, support transition from school to work, and support access to employment. In the spirit of sharing good practices, we'd like to bring forward a few concrete examples of this in our discussion today. So our first example is MyTax, which is a national not-for-profit research organization dedicated to promoting high-quality research and innovation by building links between academia and industry through internships. We also have the Business and Higher Education Roundtable, which is a not-for-profit organization that brings together Canada's largest companies and leading post-secondary institutions. BHER works to harness the strengths of Canada's business and post-secondary education sectors to build opportunities for young Canadians looking for the skills necessary for Canada's job market, as well as to boost innovation and drive collaboration. We have something called Computers for Schools, which is quite interesting, whereby we support 14 recipient organizations which operate across 30 centers in Canada, offering secondary and post-secondary students and recent grads internships for professional experience refurbishing computers. So we recognize that engagement in this area can take many shapes and forms. And finally, we have two others we would like to highlight. One is called CAN Code, which provides coding and digital skills development to Canadian youth from kindergarten to grade 12. And we also focus on providing teachers with training to introduce digital skills, coding, and related concepts into the classroom. Finally, we have something called Let's Talk Science, which is a national not-for-profit organization as well that offers services and resources to help promote youth engagement and skills development in STEM. We're essentially trying to, as we've heard many today, we're trying to encourage more young people to pursue education and choose careers in STEM. These initiatives also foster the participation of underrepresented groups, particularly focusing on young women and Indigenous youth, so that they may have the supports and opportunities they need to build long-lasting careers and support innovation. As part of our Feminist International Assistance Policy, Canada will continue to support initiatives that help ensure equal access to quality education and skills development. Thank you for the opportunity to share on this important topic today.
Thank you. We thank the Delegation of Canada on your presentation, and we now welcome the Delegation of Chile. Chile, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. El desarrollo de las tecnologías de la información y de la capacidad de análisis de grandes bases de datos están impactando de numerosas formas la economía, incluida las formas de producción, generando nuevos desafíos para los países, las empresas y los sistemas educacionales. Nuestra región se encuentra hoy en un momento crucial para transitar hacia la denominada Industria 4.0, que aborda la reindustrialización del mundo con un enfoque que desde hace una década está cambiando significativamente la forma y fondo de las políticas públicas para impulsar la modernización productiva. Los estados, las empresas y toda la sociedad deben colaborar para desarrollar un modelo sistémico sustentable que se adapte a la reindustrialización 4.0. Como primer paso fundamental, se requiere una estrategia educacional digital que debe ser complementada con programas continuos de calificación y recalificación en el lugar de trabajo. Además, hay que construir una infraestructura para que las pymes puedan incorporarse al mundo digital y a las nuevas tecnologías. La industrialización 4.0 es un concepto nuevo y complejo, por lo que en primer lugar se debe crear conciencia y comprensión respecto de él y en segundo lugar introducir el pensamiento estratégico al respecto. La nueva industria 4.0 constituye una oportunidad para que los países emergentes puedan dar un salto y transformarse en países desarrollados. El Estado tiene que desempeñar un rol activo vía recursos públicos y como articulador para la implementación de la tecnología 4.0 por parte de las empresas, creando un ecosistema entre las asociaciones gremiales, sindicatos y la academia, para que puedan desarrollar las aptitudes requeridas para la competencia internacional. Las nuevas tecnologías y las innovaciones que están apareciendo generan oportunidades para modificar la manera de hacer las cosas y para aumentar la productividad. Los países desarrollados han comprendido esta urgencia y han adoptado un rol activo para apoyar a sus empresas productivas en la adopción de las nuevas tecnologías. Esto ha implicado la elaboración de estrategias de implementación de la revolución industrial 4.0 a través de una interacción colaborativa entre el sector público y el sector privado, incorporando además al sector académico y a la sociedad civil. Así entonces, el rol del Estado no se puede restringir a subsidiar la implementación de la transformación digital. Además, tiene que promulgar nuevas leyes, estándares y políticas públicas que se hagan cargo del impacto social. En este escenario resulta muy relevante, señora Presidenta, considerar elementos como la planificación estratégica. La idea de fondo es transitar desde una gestión intuitiva a una estratégica, que las instituciones, las empresas, las regiones y las políticas públicas sean capaces de pensarse a sí mismas con una perspectiva de mediano y largo plazo para guiar las acciones. También es importante relevar el rol de las universidades. La academia constituye un actor central y ello debe reflejarse en las políticas públicas, insertando a las universidades en la comunidad en la que se desenvuelven, con especial énfasis en su vínculo con las empresas productivas. Otro elemento clave es la capacitación de los trabajadores, para lo cual son importantes las pasantías para jóvenes y el reentrenamiento de los trabajadores. En un mundo digital, toda la sociedad se tiene que digitalizar. Además, para entender y operar la industria 4.0 es un prerequisito que todos los trabajadores estén digitalizados. La digitalización es el equivalente del siglo XXI a la alfabetización de los siglos XIX y XX, es decir, implica aumentar el potencial de cada persona, pero también de toda la sociedad. La incorporación a la revolución industrial 4.0 puede generar beneficios económicos por menores costos de transacción y menores costos de transporte, procesos productivos más confiables y consistentes y bienes de mejor calidad. Un desplazamiento productivo hacia un consumo masivo, personalizado, con un rol creciente para las pymes, el potenciamiento de la innovación a través de muchas aplicaciones con un gran impacto sobre el crecimiento y sistemas productivos más eficientes desde los puntos de vista energético y ecológico. Para todo ello, la región debe generar las competencias y aprovechar las capacidades de todos los sectores, con especial énfasis, como hemos visto en esta sesión, en la juventud. Por eso felicitamos, señora Presidenta, la convocatoria a este Consejo. Muchas gracias y muy feliz Día de la Independencia a Trinidad y Tobago. Gracias.
Thank you. We thank the delegation of Chile and now recognize the delegation of Mexico.
Muy buenas tardes. ¿Me escuchan?
Adelante, sí la escuchamos. No la vemos, pero la escuchamos.
Oh. Soy Socorro Jorge, la nueva representante alterna de México para temas de cooperación y desarrollo y hablaré a nombre de mi país. Gracias, señora Presidenta. México reitera su compromiso con las acciones de cooperación regional encaminadas a la reducción de las brechas en habilidades y capacidades en ciencia y tecnologías transformadoras en los jóvenes de las Américas. Precisamente, uno de los pilares de la política social mexicana consiste en la atención prioritaria a los jóvenes, siempre con enfoque de género y de derechos humanos para encaminar su inserción laboral en un panorama complejo por el impacto de la pandemia de COVID-19 en sus oportunidades de desarrollo, empleo digno e inclusión social. La región de las Américas enfrenta el despegue de la industria 4.0 con su importante dinamismo a nivel global, la integración cada vez mayor de tecnologías, metodologías, enfoques y procesos que propiciarán una tendencia hacia nuevos esquemas de trabajo, interacción en las sociedades digitalizadas y revolucionará sobre todo el aprendizaje. En cuanto a los retos en el desarrollo de habilidades para los jóvenes en la industria 4.0, mencionaré que en 2020 la Organización Mundial de la Propiedad Industrial colocó a México en el segundo lugar entre los países de América Latina según el índice de innovación y avanza aceleradamente en los procesos de digitalización industrial, robotización, big data e inteligencia artificial, entre otras áreas de esta industria 4.0. México impulsa una estrategia basada en 4 pilares: el desarrollo de capital humano de primera generación con habilidades en información de datos, minería de datos y ciberseguridad, entre otras, innovación para hacer que las empresas innoven a través del uso de herramientas específicas, clúster a fin de generar sinergias positivas entre los clústeres para detonar acciones coordinadas, y la adopción de tecnología para que las pequeñas y medianas empresas la adopten y generen procesos productivos más competitivos. El gobierno mexicano en 2021 ha dirigido mayores recursos a programas a cargo de la Secretaría de Educación Pública, del Consejo Nacional de Ciencia y Tecnología, de la Secretaría de Salud, de la Secretaría de Energía y de la Secretaría de Agricultura y Desarrollo Rural, orientados a fortalecer la formación de recursos de alta calidad mediante el otorgamiento de becas con perspectiva de género, con el objetivo de brindar oportunidades para la formación de jóvenes especialistas en ciencias, humanidades y tecnologías que contribuyan a abatir la brecha de participación y conocimiento de grupos históricamente excluidos, así como el desarrollo de proyectos de investigación, desarrollo tecnológico e innovación. De igual manera, la Secretaría de Economía mexicana, a través del Programa para el Desarrollo de la Industria del Software y la Innovación, ha promovido la adopción de herramientas tecnológicas consideradas en el modelo de la Industria 4.0 mediante la generación de centros de innovación industrial en diversas entidades del país, con el propósito de promover los servicios y la infraestructura en TICs que permitan a las empresas y a la población juvenil el acceso a Internet y a las nuevas tecnologías y optimizar sus capacidades productivas. Los sectores que destacan en estos centros son el automotriz, aeroespacial, textil, metal mecánica, tecnologías de la información y agroindustria. Por otra parte, en materia de buenas prácticas, si bien es una realidad que los jóvenes enfrentan dificultades para obtener su primer empleo y la pandemia ha estrechado aún más estas posibilidades, en México, los programas Jóvenes Construyendo el Futuro, Jóvenes Escribiendo el Futuro, las becas para el bienestar y los programas Sembrando Vida han estado encaminados a atender esta problemática. En particular, Jóvenes Construyendo el Futuro es un programa de la Secretaría del Trabajo y Previsión Social que vincula a la juventud con centros de trabajo para que reciban capacitación y tutoría, otorgándoles una beca mensual hasta por un año. Este programa tiene como objetivo integrar a jóvenes en actividades de capacitación en el trabajo, dotarlos de herramientas para una vida mejor y acelerar su preparación para las actividades productivas en previsión de un mayor crecimiento económico en el futuro próximo. Sin duda, los acuerdos y proyectos que logremos consolidar para la región en materia de desarrollo de habilidades y preparación para la industria 4.0 constituirán una oportunidad para que los jóvenes de nuestros países tengan mayores alternativas para su superación, empoderamiento y exitoso futuro. El gobierno de la Cuarta Transformación tiene la finalidad de desplegar una política industrial explícita con la intención de fomentar la digitalización del sector manufacturero e impulsar esta industria 4.0. El gobierno de México respalda la meta de alcanzar 10,000 jóvenes capacitados en tecnologías transformadoras para 2024, con especial énfasis en la activa participación de mujeres y de otros grupos vulnerables para fortalecer el desarrollo integral y con inclusión social de las comunidades. el trabajo y la cooperación entre gobierno, sociedad y empresa asegura el avance hacia la recuperación económica resiliente y competitiva para superar las consecuencias de la devastadora crisis sanitaria que se vive, poniendo en el centro de las prioridades a las personas. Muchas gracias, señora Presidenta.
We thank you, the Delegation of Mexico, for your intervention. And I see no other representative asking for the floor. So I wish to now propose that CIDI instructs the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development to document and follow up on the collaboration opportunities with the partner institutions identified during this dialogue and in the interventions made by the delegations. I also want to call on member states to put forward offers of cooperation and partnerships to complement the regional dialogue of skills building opportunities on transformative science and technologies from governments, private sector, and academia to support the development of the America's Youth Academy on transformative technologies, leading to the 6th REMSIT. If there are no objections, it is so decided. We now turn to item 3. The next item on the order of business refers to the 21st Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor and the diplomatic note and draft resolution submitted by the delegation of Argentina on the modality for said meeting. I'm pleased to offer the floor to the representative of Argentina to refer to this item.
Bueno, voy a ser breve porque entiendo que ya estamos un poco tarde en esta reunión. Simplemente era para, como ustedes sabrán y hemos adelantado, la Conferencia Interamericana de Ministros de Trabajo este año lamentablemente no podrá realizarse de manera presencial en Argentina debido a las condiciones sanitarias que todavía no lo permiten. Pero de todos modos, bueno, justamente este proyecto es para convocar a la reunión de manera virtual. Y de todos modos quería destacar el trabajo que están realizando todas las delegaciones en las reuniones preparatorias. A pesar de no poder encontrarnos en persona, hemos podido avanzar en el trabajo sobre los textos y sobre distintas cuestiones. Y en ese sentido quería recordar que ya han sido circuladas las invitaciones a todos los ministros y ministras de trabajo. La Secretaría ha recibido muchas confirmaciones y queremos seguir alentando la participación de todos y todas, porque entendemos justamente que a pesar de las dificultades se están avanzando en consensos y en documentos muy importantes en este contexto, así que nuevamente invitarlos a participar. Y después también queríamos aprovechar para agradecer a las delegaciones de Colombia, Trinidad y Tobago y Panamá, quienes han formalizado sus candidaturas para distintas instancias de la conferencia, y seguir alentando a otras delegaciones a que, si están interesadas en presentar alguna candidatura, todavía están a tiempo y que lo comuniquen a la Secretaría. Y por último, no dejar de agradecer a la Secretaría por todo su apoyo en este proceso ministerial y sobre todo a María Claudia Camacho, que siempre nos está acompañando. Bueno, eso es todo y muchas gracias nuevamente.
Thank you. We thank the delegation of Argentina, and I'm sure that all delegations are well aware of the circumstances that prompted the government of Argentina to propose that the meeting be held virtually. Therefore, I submit for your consideration the draft resolution contained in document CIDI/Doc 320/21 to hold the 21st Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor virtually on September 22nd to 24th, 2021, as originally scheduled. I offer the floor to the delegations who wish to refer to the document CIDI-Doc 320/21. If there are no additional requests for the floor, I propose that a draft resolution Ms. Giuliano, Neville, Ains Neville, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, my apologies for taking the floor. I just wanted to take this opportunity, and good afternoon, by the way, Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, distinguished ambassadors and colleagues. My delegation appreciates this opportunity to share that the United States presented its candidacy for Vice Chair of Working Group number 2 of the Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor, which focuses on institutional strengthening and social dialogue to protect workers' and employers' rights in light of the COVID-19 crisis and addresses emerging change in the world of work for the period 2021-2024. I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to share that with you, given the agenda item that we are now discussing. I thank you for your indulgence.
We thank you and we thank the United States delegation for that intervention. I see there are no additional requests for the floor. I therefore propose that a draft resolution as contained in document CIDI/doc 320/21 be approved, and that the 21st Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor be held virtually on September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, 2021. If there are no objections, it is so approved. Approved. We now turn to the establishment of the order of precedence of delegations. Colleagues, to comply with Article 14 of the Rules of Procedures for sectorial ministerial meetings of CIDI, we will now proceed with establishing the order of precedence for delegations of member states and permanent observers during the 21st Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor. Delegations are reminded that, as outlined in Article 2 of the same Rules of Procedure, the principal representative of the delegations that are next in the order of precedence established in Article 14 of these Rules of Procedure shall serve ex officio as vice chairs of the ministerial and or high-level meeting, and shall replace the chair in the event of the latter's absence or impediment. In accordance with Article 14 of the aforementioned rules, the order of precedence of the delegations for each meeting shall be established in alphabetical order in Spanish by the corresponding regular or special meeting of CIDI, once the first place has been drawn by lot. The order of precedence of the permanent observers shall be established in the same manner. Secretariat, please proceed with the draw of the first name for member states.
Con mucho gusto, señora presidenta.
Drum roll.
Dominica.
The first place amongst member states is Dominica. Please, Secretary, proceed with the draw of the first name for permanent observers.
Con muchísimo gusto, señora embajadora. Holy See.
The first place amongst permanent observers is the Holy See. Thank you. The final item on the order of business of this meeting refers to the preliminary list of observers and invited guests to the 21st Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor. A preliminary list was prepared by the Secretariat and distributed as per document CIDI Doc 32/21. 321/21. In compliance of Articles 17 and 18 of the Rules of Procedure for sectoral ministerial meetings of CIDI, the preliminary list requires the authorization of this meeting. I therefore submit the preliminary list for your consideration. I offer the floor to the delegations who wish to refer to document CD/doc 321/21. If there are no representatives, there are none. Okay, who wishes to participate, who wish to comment on the preliminary list of observers and invited guests to the 21st Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor, as contained in document CD/321/21, I propose that it be approved and that the Secretariat be instructed to proceed with the corresponding invitations. If there are no objections, it is so approved. Approved. We now move to item 4, other matters. I now offer the floor to any delegation wishing to bring any other matter to the attention of this council. I know it is pretty late because there are no other matters, no requests on the floor. So since there are no other matters to consider, the meeting is, well, let me first say thank you all. Thank you, Secretary Osborne and your team for the work that you have been doing in putting together this very engaging meeting today. I really enjoyed the intervention from the dialogue on the youth readiness. So my commendations to the team, and I thank all the member states for your participation. Since there are no other matters to be considered, this meeting is now adjourned. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Ambassador. Have a good afternoon too.